So it's Tuesday and it's a little later in the day here in Florida, but I wanted to hop in because I have been talking to a few different people about a few different things inside of your studios, and I didn't really want to wait any longer to share some of this information with you because I really feel like the more information you can get, the better, and you can figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you so well. So right now, you might be in a situation where you're teaching already inside of your studio. You might be in a situation where you're planning to be teaching soon. You're getting set up to go back into the studio with all of that entails. Or you might be in a situation where you're kind of stuck wondering, when and if your studio will open and what that might look like. Now, what we know is, regardless of the situation you're in, and probably pretty much wherever you are in the world, the business that you had before you closed down earlier this year is not the business that you're going to be going back to. Things will look and feel different. And what we know is that there is also a new set of challenges. And there's the challenges that we know exist, right? So like navigating those social distancing guidelines, figuring out those cleaning protocols, how to keep everyone safe inside of your business, but also communicating with your clients on what that looks like, okay? And, the future is going to be uncertain. And, there's a lot of people talking about a second wave. And, in some areas, businesses are already thinking about what will happen about if we have to shut down again. We're seeing some spikes in some places, and Florida's one of those places. So regardless, I just want you to be really prepared for what the future holds, okay? And I think there are ways to optimize your business, and by looking forward into the future and thinking about the different scenarios that lay ahead, you really can make sure that you're taking advantage of the opportunities that might exist for you. And I did put together an article about that last week, about the opportunities that exist inside of your business. I really do think there are quite a few. But let's talk about what the new normal might look like, what the new normal looks like inside of your studio. And I've seen over the past few weeks what this looks like for so many different people, and what I found is that everybody is in a different place right now. But more than likely you have restrictions, right? Based on how many people you can have in your studio, based on what those cleaning protocols look like. And those guidelines come from the national level, they come from the state level, they come from the county level, they come from the city level. And then there's also what you feel comfortable doing and what your clients expect you to do. So there's just a lot of pressure, I think, from most studio owners are feeling right now, which is totally understandable. But the knock-on effect of all of those restrictions and guidelines is impacting your business too. And that means and looks like, fewer people inside of the studio. We knew that was going to be the case. We've known for a while that's probably going to be the case. We know that you're going to have to make allowances for mandated cleaning protocols and figuring out how to make that work for your business. And, whether or not you use face coverings and other sorts of things that will help keep everyone safe. Now, on top of all of that, which is new to everyone's business, is that you also have clients that probably have quite differing expectations and opinions about what you should be doing. And it's likely that your client will let you know what they think you should be doing differently. Okay, so be prepared for that, and be prepared to answer that in a way that you feel comfortable with, because I've definitely seen that that's been a challenge for studio owners. And it's not that your clients are unappreciative of what you're doing. It's just that everyone's coming at this with a different viewpoint and a different perspective. And we've all been inside of a bit of a bubble of our own homes, and I think that once we get out into the world, everyone's kind of thinking that the things should be done their way, and there's lots of differing opinions on that, right? The other thing that's different is that your revenue per square foot inside of the studio is going to be lower. It's going to be lower than it was. And what might happen is either you'll find, and I've seen everything. I've seen that people have had wait lists, so they've been unable to get as many clients as they would like to get inside of their studio, and they've had a wait list scenario which they've had to manage. But I've also seen studios who struggle to fill their classes. And so a lot of it, I mean, there's a lot that goes into getting people back into the studio, obviously. So, I've seen both, I've seen it all. But either way, it's likely that your revenue per square foot that from inside of your studio business will be lower than it was before. And that's something just to be aware of. The other thing that's going to be different for you that you've perhaps gotten used to a little bit since the studio's been closed is the amount of time that you have. So many people have taken with not being inside the studio much, condensing down classes into, perhaps larger online virtual classes. It's given a little bit more free time to studio owners. And that's probably going to disappear now, because not only are you going to be teaching in the studio with everything that goes with that, but you're probably going to have to juggle a little bit of online work as well, and there may well be some additional admin work, and you're going to have to be continuing to market and stay in contact with your clients. So there's a lot from a business operations perspective that is also going to be different and demanding on your time. The other thing to think about is whether or not your teachers may or may not be comfortable coming back into the studio. I've seen just a real mix. Some people are all in, some people are not so keen, and that's going to be a challenge also to figure out, what makes sense, what's going to make people feel more comfortable. Is there things you can do and work around? Is there ways you can delegate different tasks to those people who perhaps aren't excited about coming back in? And then, just adding to the stress of all of that is, the constant chatter that's happening in the background about, whether or not you're going to be closing down again. So there's just a lot going on. And it's just, it still continues to be a challenging time. 2020 is going to be and is going to continue to be a very challenging year for so many. But I think there are ways that we can overcome some of these challenges, and I wanted to share some of those things with you today, because I think that there are some things that you can be doing immediately, some things that I want you to start thinking about and planning for as you go into the reopening phase, or as you continue to optimize your reopening, as it were. So if you've been open for a few weeks, these things will still apply to you. Some of them you may have worked through already, but some things you might want to sort of rethink and think about. So the first thing, obviously, is, I know a lot of people have been doing this, and I really encourage it, is to send out an information gathering emails or a survey to your clients. And that survey should only have questions in it that is going to get you information that's going to be useful for you to rebuild your schedule, to figure out what services to offer and how to offer them. So you want to make sure you send out a survey sometime around when you're reopening, but you also want to be information gathering throughout your opening period and beyond. So I wouldn't just send out one survey. I would consider sending out, an additional survey 2 to 3 weeks after you've opened as well, because you want to get that feedback happening. You want that to be able to optimize your schedule, your pricing, who's teaching what, where, and when. Okay. The second thing I cannot encourage you enough to do is to keep going with your virtual classes. Now, a lot of people are setting them up as hybrid classes, so you're having an online plus an in-studio class happen simultaneously. If that works for you, then that's fantastic, because that means that you're getting revenue from the in-studio plus revenue from the virtual sessions. And there might be some tech things you might need to figure out, placement of the camera, who you're teaching to, and all of that you'll need to just spend some time thinking through to make sure that everyone gets a fantastic experience. You also want to make sure you set that up properly inside of your scheduling system, when that probably will look like 2 classes happening at the same time, and it'll look like you've double booked your teacher. But it's important to get all of those little things figured out and set up ahead of time. And I would really encourage you to continue those virtual classes for a few reasons. First of all, because it's going to give you that extra boost to revenue for those class times, but also because we want to keep that as a habit for your clients. So for those clients who've enjoyed those virtual sessions, who continue to want them, you want to continue to give them, because like I said earlier, we don't know what's going to happen going forward, and we don't want to just throw that away after spending so much time building that habit for our clients. So I do really encourage you to continue to do the virtual sessions, the live virtual sessions for sure. If you are creating a video library and you have recorded lessons, sessions and classes, and you want to use that going forward, then you want to set that up inside of a robust software program that you're able to to monetize effectively, right? And that's going to likely see you being requiring some new platform to do that, as well as some new skills when it comes to online marketing as well. Pricing is another big question that we've seen a lot of people ask. If you've been thinking about changing your pricing or increasing your pricing, then definitely as you head back into the studio, and given that you kind of have a bit of a blank slate, then I would definitely consider changing your pricing if it's been something that you've been thinking about doing for a while. Obviously, the way you message that, the way you tell your clients, you have to be very careful about that. But I do see a lot of people rethinking the way that they're charging their clients for their sessions, especially because there is this additional virtual element as well. So I would definitely encourage you to consider changing your pricing right now if it's something that you think has been kind of on the cards for a while, okay? And on that note as well, before I forget, I'm encouraging everybody to think about those recurring pricing options. So that could look like a membership, that could look like a payment plan on a package, that could look like auto-renewing packages as well. We want to make sure that we are seeing your clients be as committed to your business as possible, all right? Now that you've got this brand new online service available, we want to make sure that we're optimizing that too. So those digital add-ons, those extra classes you've recorded, or access to your virtual sessions, you could add on to your existing memberships or your existing packages. So that could be another way to boost your revenue. So again, coming back to that pricing and rethinking what might really work. The other thing that you might want to consider doing, and I would encourage you to do, just because we're talking still about doing a lot of virtual sessions, is adding some props and some products and some merchandise to your offerings. So that might look like a set of weights or bands or other props that you might use in your class, because it will help your clients to feel challenged in their classes and in their sessions as well, give you a little bit more to work with perhaps, as well as give you a little bit of a revenue boost. So you can add on, delivery charge for that. You can add on some other merchandise and throw that in there, and that can be another bonus box perhaps for people who purchase your more longer term commitment packages. You want to continue to stay in very close contact with your clients. You want to be communicating with them on a very regular basis. If you kind of have gone a little bit quiet since you've opened because you've been so busy getting everything set up, then I would encourage you to revisit your email marketing strategy and be looking at ways you can engage with your clients, tell them more about what you have going on and what's going on in the studio, because we want to make sure that your clients feel really taken care of. Retention is the name of the game in 2020, and that's all about building relationships, okay? So we want to make sure that we're very thoughtful in the way that we communicate with our clients, especially now, nurturing those relationships, building those relationships, and encouraging plenty of engagement with your clients. Okay, a couple more operational tips for you right now. So because of the size of the classes, and because you're going to have probably a few less people inside of your studio than you would normally expect to have, you may want to revisit your policies for cancellations and no-shows. So with the decrease in capacity, you don't want to have a situation where someone cancels or late cancels and doesn't show up, because you're going to have that empty spot sitting empty, and if you don't charge for that spot, then it's a massive loss of revenue. We can't afford to lose any classes or any spots in the classes, right? So I think we need to revisit the no-show charge and the cancellation policy. So what I would encourage you to do is to enforce that no-show. Now it gets tricky because obviously we don't want anyone in the studio who is displaying any symptoms of any sort of illness at all. So we kind of want to be delicate with that. But if you do have clients who consistently no-show, then I think it's time to start charging those people, even though they might be lovely and wonderful. Your business really needs all the revenue it can get right now, and I think that those no-show charges are very, very fair for right now. And then I think extending your cancellation policy from, if you have had say a 6-hour cancellation period before a class, extending that to at least 12 hours, if not 24 hours ahead of class, will mean that you'll be sure to capture those be sure to capture those extra spots if they become available to new clients. And there's a lot that you can do to encourage people to get on wait lists and that sort of thing that will help your business as well. Now, as I just want to come to wrap up here, look, I think that there's a lot of work that we can be doing inside of your studio right now. You'd be overwhelmed by how much there is you could be doing, but I think it's really important to get very focused and prioritize your tasks and get really clear on what you want and need to support your business. So I don't really want you to avoid getting distracted with perhaps investing in developing new businesses, like a new online studio perhaps, when you have your existing studio that you can rebuild. I'd encourage you to get your existing business model set up and optimized and running as smoothly as possible before you start to invest time and energy and skills or building skills into new businesses. And I also want to encourage you to avoid perhaps occupying yourself with perhaps what other people are doing, other studios might be doing. And I've seen the inside of enough studios to know that what it looks like on the outside doesn't always reflect what's happening on the inside. So although another studio might look like they're really doing great, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. So I would encourage you to focus on what your business needs, on what you need, and make sure that you really are taking the time for yourself, because I do think this is going to be a long road. So I hope all of those tips helped. I'm going to be posting the article with all of this information over on the site. And if you have any questions, please, by all means, pop in the comments below and I will answer them. But I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you have a really good rest of your day, you guys. Take care.